The sun had barely risen over the jagged mountains of Coron 4, casting long shadows over the training grounds. The cadets of the Intergalactic Defense Academy lined up, stiff and tense, their uniforms pristine but their hearts racing. Today was no ordinary day. Today, the war beast was arriving. The rumors had reached every cadet weeks ago. Stories of creatures so powerful, so intelligent, that only a few humans had ever survived their tests. Its size, its strength, and its uncanny ability to sense fear were spoken of in whispers. And now, the moment had come. A low rumble echoed across the plains. Dust swirled around the academy's outer walls as the ground seemed to vibrate. Cadets instinctively stepped back, eyes widening. Then, through the haze, a massive silhouette appeared. The war beast. It was taller than any cadet, its body covered in thick, mottled scales that glinted in the rising sun. Its eyes glowed a deep amber, intelligent and calculating. Every muscle in its body moved with a grace that was almost unnatural for a creature of its size. And then it let out a snarl that made even the bravest cadets freeze in fear. Commanders shouted orders. Try and maintain control. Stay calm. Remain in formation. But the cadets could barely hear over the growl that seemed to shake the very air. One by one, the cadets stepped forward, trying to show confidence. The war beast tested them, sniffing the air, circling them with a predator's focus. Every attempt to approach was met with a snarl, a swipe of its massive claws, or a sudden, thunderous roar. Some cadets stumbled back, trembling, their courage crumbling under the creature's gaze. But one cadet, a human named Eli, did not move. He stood at the far edge of the formation, his posture straight but calm. His eyes, a clear blue, met the amber eyes of the war beast without flinching. There was no fear, only curiosity. The other cadets whispered nervously. "Who does he think he is?" one muttered. "He'll be torn apart like the rest of them." The war beast stopped circling for a moment and tilted its head, studying Eli. Its growl deepened, low and questioning, as if it were trying to understand something beyond words. The wind carried a metallic tang of fear and anticipation. Eli's heart pounded, but he remained still. Then, without warning, the war beast charged. Dust erupted around its feet as it sprinted toward Eli, its eyes locked onto him. The cadets gasped and ducked instinctively, expecting the worst. But Eli did not run. He did not flinch. He held his ground, hands slightly raised, not in fear, but in a gesture of respect. The war beast skidded to a halt just inches away, its massive head lowering as it sniffed the air around him. A tense silence filled the air. Even the wind seemed to pause. For a moment, it felt as if time had stopped. Every cadet held their breath, afraid to blink. Then, slowly, almost impossibly, the war beast knelt. Its massive frame lowered the ground with a sound like rolling thunder. The cadets froze, disbelief written on every face. This was not part of any training manual. No one had ever seen the war beast kneel. Eli took a small step forward. The creature's eyes followed him, unblinking yet calm now. He extended a hand, trembling slightly but not from fear, just from awe. The war beast leaned its head closer, allowing Eli to touch its scaled snout. The contact was electric, a connection that seemed to speak without words. Around them, whispers broke out among the cadets. He did it. He's controlling it. Commanders were equally stunned. "This is unprecedented," one muttered under his breath. "We've never had a cadet, any cadet, achieve this level of control." Eli didn't smile. He didn't speak. He only observed the war beast, feeling its intelligence, its strength, and its curiosity. Somewhere deep inside, he knew this was just the beginning. The war beast was testing him, yes, but he was also learning to understand a creature unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The sun rose higher, casting golden light over the plains. Dust settled, and the war beast finally stood, towering over Eli but no longer threatening. The other cadets watched, fear still etched on their faces, but also a hint of admiration. Eli had faced the impossible and survived. Yet in the shadows of mountains, far beyond the academy's walls, something stirred. Something watched, and the sense of danger, of trials yet to come, lingered in the air. Eli didn't know it yet, but the war beast was only the first of many challenges that awaited him. The day had begun, and the war was just starting. The dust settled over the training ground, but the tension did not. Cadets remained frozen, their eyes wide as they watched the impossible scene unfold. The war beast stood silently, towering over Eli, its massive head lowered in an almost reverent stance. Every muscle in its body was coiled, ready, but it did not attack. Eli took a slow, careful step forward. The other cadets whispered, some holding back laughter, others trembling with fear. "He's asking for it," muttered one. "The beast will crush him." But Eli did not speak. He knew that words would not work with this creature. Only action, only calmness could convey understanding. He extended his hand again, keeping his movement steady. The war beast sniffed the air, its amber eyes scanning him. Its growl was low, almost contemplative, as if it were weighing Eli's soul. The first test began. A massive roar erupted from the war beast as it lunged toward Eli, not with malice, but with speed and force meant to intimidate. Cadets gasped and shrank back, expecting Eli to be thrown aside. But he held his ground, shifting his weight just enough to let the creature pass safely, avoiding a swipe of claws by a hair's breadth. The war beast circled him, faster this time, tail whipping the ground. Dust and debris flew through the air, hitting cadets' faces. But Eli did not flinch. He remembered the training lessons drilled into him since childhood. Fear feeds a predator. Calmness is strength. Respect is survival. The creature paused, tilting its massive head, sniffing, and staring directly into Eli's eyes. Then it charged again, this time with full force. Eli sidestepped gracefully, moving almost in rhythm with the beast, as though they shared some unspoken understanding. The commanders' mouths were open in astonishment. "I've never seen a cadet survive the first test like this," muttered one. "He isn't just surviving, he's guiding it." Other cadets tried to replicate Eli's composure, but every movement was clumsy, every reaction laced with fear. Each one was met with sharp roar or a swipe of the beast's paw. One cadet fell, rolling across the ground, and the war beast bellowed, testing him even further before moving away. Eli's heartbeat raced, but his face remained calm. He had learned something instinctive. The war beast respected honesty and courage. It could smell deceit, fear, and false bravado. Only truth and composure earned its trust. The next challenge came without warning. The war beast stopped abruptly and let out a low growl, a sound like a drum of warning. A giant boulder, part of the training obstacle, rolled toward Eli. Other cadets scattered in panic. But Eli calculated the path. He leapt aside at the perfect moment, allowing the boulder to crash harmlessly into the ground behind him. The war beast observed silently, its chest rising and falling, nostrils flaring. Then, in a move that stunned everyone, it crouched low, bringing its massive body closer to Eli. The ground shook with its weight. Eli reached out and placed a hand gently on the creature's scaled snout. The war beast blinked once, slowly. Then it nuzzled his palm. Cadets whispered in disbelief. "He's communicating with it," someone said. For a brief moment, the world seemed to pause. Birds in the sky froze their flight. The wind held its breath. Even the sun seemed to cast a warmer light over the two unlikely companions. Eli understood that this was not just a test of strength. It was a test of understanding, empathy, and instinct. Suddenly, the war beast reared back and unleashed a deafening roar. Cadets covered their ears, some falling to the ground. Eli did not flinch. He inhaled deeply and met the creature's gaze. Slowly, the growl softened. The war beast took a step back, then lowered itself to a kneeling position. The commanders were stunned. "Incredible," one whispered. "It kneels to him." No cadet has ever achieved this. Eli remained calm, aware that this was only the beginning. He could feel the intelligence of the war beast probing him, testing him, understanding him. A strange connection formed, a bond that transcended words. For the first time, he sensed the creature's thoughts, fears, and respect. Around them, the cadets muttered nervously, some in awe, others in envy. "Why him?" they asked. "Why not me?" Eli did not answer. He only watched the war beast carefully. Something inside him told him that today's test was different from the rest. This was no ordinary training. This was preparation for something far greater than they could imagine, something that would demand courage, intelligence, and trust beyond measure. The sun climbed higher in the sky, casting long shadows across the dusty plains. The war beast finally rose, towering again, but its stance was no longer threatening. It had recognized Eli, not as a threat, but as a peer, perhaps even a companion. The other cadets stepped back, their faces pale, their respect mingled with fear. They had witnessed something extraordinary, something that would change the way the Academy saw human potential. And somewhere deep in the war beast's amber eyes, a silent message was clear. Eli was ready for the real challenge to come. The first test was over, but the real journey was only beginning. The training ground was quiet now, but the tension hung thick in the air. Cadets whispered among themselves, unable to understand what just happened. The war beast, immense and terrifying, had kneeled to a human, a feat never recorded in Academy history. Yet for Eli, this was only the beginning. The commanders gathered around him, their expressions a mixture of awe and disbelief. "Cadet Eli," one said, his voice trembling slightly, "explain yourself. How did you—" Eli remained calm. "I didn't do anything," he said simply. "I just stayed still and let it understand me." The war beast shifted, its amber eyes following every movement. There was an intelligence there, deeper than brute force, something almost human in its understanding. Eli could feel it probing his mind, sensing thoughts he didn't speak. He shivered, not from fear, but from the realization that this was no ordinary creature. As the commanders debated, one of the Academy scientists, Dr. Ralvin, stepped forward. His face was pale, eyes wide with excitement. This isn't just a test of strength. The war beast reacts to a very rare type of human, one who has a calm mind, courage, and an unusual neural pattern. It can sense your thoughts and emotions. The cadets gasped. Some muttered nervously. Neural pattern? What does that mean? Dr. Ralvin shook his head. It means it recognizes you, not just as a cadet, but as something unique. Eli, do you know anything about your ancestry? Anything unusual? Eli frowned. He had always known he was different, but no one had explained why. Memories flickered in his mind. His childhood in a remote settlement on a distant colony, whispers about his parents, and a strange, almost mystical connection he had always felt with animals. Could it be this was the reason? The war beast growled softly, as if sensing Eli's thoughts. He reached out instinctively, placing a hand on its snout again. The creature nuzzled him lightly, its massive body trembling with restrained energy. Eli could feel something almost like words forming in his mind, a communication beyond speech. Images of strength, war, and a looming threat flashed briefly. The war beast was warning him. Suddenly, a loud alarm blared across the academy. Cadets snapped to attention as red lights flashed. Something was approaching. Dr. Ralvin frowned. This is unexpected. The system isn't supposed to trigger unless... The war beast stiffened, ears swiveling, muscles taut. Its roar shattered the tension in the air. Eli understood instantly. This was no ordinary drill. They were under observation, or perhaps under attack. Commanders barked orders, but Eli's attention was elsewhere. He knelt slightly, mirroring the war beast's previous gesture, and spoke softly, almost himself. "We need to trust each other, now." The creature responded immediately. It turned toward the approaching disturbance, its massive body bristling. Eli felt a rush of adrenaline, but stayed calm. He realized for the first time that the bond he shared with this war beast could save lives. The cadets stared, torn between fear and admiration. None had ever seen such synchronization between human and beast. Some began to whisper nervously. "He's not just controlling it, he's communicating." Dr. Ralvin approached cautiously. "Cadet Eli, if what I suspect is true, you may have a role far beyond training. The war beast isn't just an opponent, it's a sentinel, and it may have sensed something ancient, something dangerous that no one here yet understands." Eli's mind raced. He remembered old tales from his parents about mysterious creatures guarding remote planets. Could this be one of them? Could his own existence be tied to these creatures? Questions swirled, but answers were not yet clear. Suddenly, the war beast roared again, louder and more urgent. Eli's heart pounded. He focused on its eyes, searching for meaning. Then, almost like a spark, he understood. The beast was not just testing him. It was sending a message, a warning. Something, or someone, was coming, stronger and more dangerous than anything the Academy had faced. Eli stood slowly, the war beast lowering its massive head to his shoulder. The bond between them felt unbreakable, silent but powerful. He glanced at the other cadets, some pale, some fearful, all uncertain. "Prepare yourselves," he said quietly, almost to himself. "This is only the beginning." As he spoke, a shadow passed over the training ground. The wind shifted. Dust swirled again, carrying with a strange metallic scent. The war beast growled low in its throat, muscles tensing. Eli knew this was no ordinary test. The real challenge was yet to come, and it would demand every ounce of courage, trust, and intelligence he possessed. For the first time, he felt the weight of destiny on his shoulders. The war beast had chosen him, not because he was the strongest, but because he was ready to face the unknown. Together, they would confront whatever lay beyond the horizon. The sun dipped slightly, casting long shadows over the Academy. In that quiet moment, Eli realized that this bond, this connection with the war beast, was not just a gift. It was a responsibility. And the future, uncertain and dangerous, was calling him forward. The first whispers of war had begun. The morning sun rose over the Academy once again, but the air was charged with tension. Word spread quickly. Eli had earned the war beast's trust. Cadets gawked, whispers following him like shadows. Some were jealous, others fearful. But today, none of that mattered. Today was about survival, and the real training was about to begin. Commanders called the cadets to the arena, a vast expanse filled with obstacles, dummies, and unpredictable terrain. War beasts of all sizes were present, but all eyes were on Eli and his companion. The giant creature sniffed the air, growling low, sensing the challenge ahead. Eli took a deep breath, his hand resting lightly on the war beast's scaled snout. Calmness, respect, trust, these were his weapons. The first drill began, agility and reflex. Mechanical drones zipped across the arena, firing harmless but disorienting blasts. Other cadets stumbled and fell, scrambling to regain composure. Eli moved in sync with the war beast, dodging drones, leaping over obstacles, and using the creature's massive body to shield him when necessary. The war beast's instincts were astonishing. It anticipated every move, every danger, as if reading Eli's thoughts. When a drone fired directly at him, the war beast shifted in a blur, blocking the shot with its shoulder. Eli barely had to think, his movements flowing naturally with the beast's guidance. The cadets watched in awe. Even the commanders murmured among themselves. "It's not just training, it's harmony," one said. "No cadet has ever synced with a war beast like this." But the training quickly escalated. A section of the arena transformed into a mock combat scenario. Holographic enemies appeared, attacking from all directions. Explosions rocked the ground. Panic rose among the cadets, but Eli's focus remained absolute. He gestured subtly, and the war beast responded instantly, knocking over holograms, herding cadets to safety and blocking attacks. Then came the mental test. The arena darkened, eerie lights casting long shadows. Strange sounds filled the air, growls, whispers, and mechanical screeches designed to unsettle the cadets. Many faltered, overwhelmed by fear and confusion. But Eli closed his eyes for a moment, breathing deeply. The war beast kneeled beside him, a silent anchor in the storm. When Eli opened his eyes, he moved confidently. Every step was precise, every decision measured. The war beast mirrored his movements, their actions perfectly synchronized. Together, they navigated the darkness, neutralizing threats before they could strike. Cadets were astonished, some cheering silently, others too stunned to speak. Dr. Ralvin, observing from the side, noted furiously in his tablet. The neural link is strengthening. They are predicting each other's moves. This is unprecedented. Eli is not just leading. He is thinking as one with the war beast. But the training was far from over. Commanders had saved the most dangerous test for last: endurance and courage under pressure. A mechanical beast, larger and more aggressive than any cadet's companion, was released into the arena. Its movements were erratic, its roar deafening. Cadets scattered. Many fell, frozen in fear. Eli's heart raced, but he stepped forward, war beast at his side. The two faced a mechanical creature together, moving as a single unit. Eli used the war beast's strength to block attacks, while subtly guiding it, exploiting weaknesses in the machine's programming. Their synchronization was flawless. The mechanical beast faltered, and finally, with a combined effort of agility and brute force, it was toppled. The arena went silent. Even the instructors were speechless. Cadets stared at Eli with a mixture of awe, disbelief, and newfound respect. He had done what none thought possible. He had survived every challenge, not by strength alone, but through trust, calmness, and understanding. The war beast knelt once more, nudging Eli gently with its massive head. A deep, almost approving growl rumbled from its chest. Eli smiled faintly, feeling the bond between them grow stronger with each passing challenge. He knew this was more than training. The war beast had accepted him as a partner, not just a leader. Yet in the back of his mind, a faint unease lingered. The intensity of the day had revealed not only the strengths of the war beast, but also its limitations. If real danger arrived, something more cunning, more dangerous than any training scenario, would their bond be enough? The sun dipped toward the horizon, casting long shadows over the academy. Cadets were exhausted, many nursing bruises and scratches, but the lessons of the day were clear. Trust and understanding were as powerful as strength. Courage was not the absence of fear, but the mastery of it. And Eli had begun to transcend the limits of what any cadet could achieve. As the war beast finally settled beside him, tail curling protectively around his feet, Eli's thoughts drifted to what lay ahead. The training had prepared him for many things, but he knew the true challenge was still coming. Somewhere out there, beyond the academy walls, a threat was stirring, and when it arrived, he and his companion would have to face it together or risk losing everything. The day had ended, but the war, the real test of courage, intelligence, and trust, was only beginning. The calm of the evening settled over the academy like a fragile blanket. Cadets were exhausted from the day's training, and most had retreated to their quarters. But Eli remained on the training grounds, the war beast's massive form towering beside him. Its amber eyes scanned the horizon, alert and tense, as though sensing something invisible to human eyes. For a moment, everything seemed peaceful. The wind whispered across the plains, carrying dust and faint scents of the alien terrain. Then, without warning, the alarm screamed. Red lights flashed across the academy, and a deep, resonating roar shook the walls. Something alive, powerful, and dangerous was approaching. Cadets scrambled in panic. Commanders shouted orders, trying to maintain control. Form up. Secure the perimeter. Everyone to your stations. But chaos had already taken hold. Eli's heart pounded, yet he remained calm. He crouched slightly, placing a hand on the war beast's snout. The creature rumbled low in response, muscles tensing. "We face this together," Eli murmured. His voice was quiet, but the connection between them was electric. The war beast seemed to understand completely. Shadows moved across the walls of the academy. Massive forms, faster than any cadet could track. Weapons fire lit up the night, but bullets seemed useless against the speed and strength of the attackers. The intruders were not ordinary. They were well-trained, calculating, and deadly. The war beast let out a deafening roar, a sound that shook the attackers and bolstered the courage of cadets. Eli stepped forward, gesturing subtly. The creature responded instantly, moving like a shadow, striking with precision. Every swipe of its claws, every thunderous step was controlled, guided by Eli's calm commands. Other cadets tried to assist, but panic hindered them. Many froze, others fell, and a few ran blindly into danger. Only Eli moved with purpose, weaving between friend and foe, using the war beast's massive body as both shield and weapon. Together, they created a protective circle around the weaker cadets, pushing back the attackers with unmatched coordination. Dr. Ralvin, observing from a secure tower, whispered into a communicator. This is beyond training. This is strategy, instinct, and empathy combined. Eli is guiding the war beast in ways I've never seen. The attackers intensified, unleashing mechanical drones and energy weapons. Explosions rocked the training grounds, sending cadets sprawling. Eli remained focused, his mind sharp, reading the battlefield. The war beast reacted instantly to every subtle signal, knocking drones out of the sky, hurting enemies, and creating openings for cadets to escape. Then, from the shadows, a massive figure emerged, a second war beast, larger, darker, with glowing red eyes. Eli's companion growled low, muscles coiled, sensing the challenge. The cadets froze. This was no training exercise. A real battle was unfolding before their eyes. Eli's mind raced. He knew that even the war beast, powerful as it was, could not face us alone. He crouched, touching its scaled snout. "We are one," he whispered. The creature responded immediately, roaring in agreement. The two war beasts clashed with earth-shaking force. The ground trembled beneath them, dust and debris flying into the air. Eli stood close, guiding his companion, predicting moves and avoiding attacks with instinctive precision. The bond between human and beast was unlike anything the Academy had ever seen. Other cadets, inspired and terrified, began to act. They moved cautiously, following Eli's lead, using the terrain, setting traps and supporting the war beast when possible. Slowly, the tide began to turn. What had started as chaos began to feel like controlled resistance. Still, the threat loomed. The red-eyed war beast was relentless, intelligent, and powerful. Every strike, every maneuver pushed Eli and his companion to the limit. Sweat poured down his face, muscles burned, but he remained focused. Fear was a luxury he could not afford. Finally, with a coordinated strike, Eli and his war beast managed to push the intruder back. The attackers retreated into the shadows, leaving the Academy battered but intact. Cadets cheered, relief washing over them. But Eli's eyes remained on the horizon. He knew this was only the beginning. Something, or someone, was out there more dangerous and cunning than they could imagine. The war beast nudged him gently, a silent reminder that together, they were ready for what was coming next. As the night settled, Eli stood tall, the war beast kneeling beside him. The bond they shared had grown stronger in the heat of real danger. The Academy had survived this night, but the shadow that had appeared was a warning. The real war was only beginning. The stars above shone cold and distant, as if watching, waiting. And somewhere in that vast darkness, the future's greatest challenge waited, ready to test the courage, trust, and strength of a human and his war beast. The morning after the attack, the Academy was quiet but tense. Cadets moved with caution, scanning the skies and the distant mountains. The events of the previous night had left everyone shaken. Yet Eli and his war beast remained calm, their bond stronger than ever. Eli walked alongside the massive creature, observing its movements. Each step was measured, each breath synchronized with his own. He could feel the war beast's thoughts, its instincts blending with his. The attacks had revealed something important. Trust was not just survival, it was power. Commanders called the cadets together for a debrief. Last night proved something remarkable. One said, "Cadet Eli and his companion demonstrated a level of coordination we've never seen. This bond is unique." Other cadets listened, some with awe, others with jealousy. A few muttered under their breath, "He's just lucky," but the fear in their eyes betrayed their disbelief. Training resumed, but now the exercises were more intense. Obstacles were set to mimic real battle conditions, holographic enemies, moving terrain, and simulated ambushes. Cadets struggled, but Eli and the war beast moved as one. When Eli dodged a trap, the war beast reacted instantly, shielding him. When an enemy drone fired, the creature knocked it away with precision. Dr. Ralvin observed closely, noting the subtleties. "The neural link is extraordinary," he murmured. "They anticipate each other's movements." Eli's calmness guides the war beast, and the war beast's instincts amplify his decisions. This is more than partnership, it's synergy. Suddenly, a new challenge appeared. A large robotic sentinel emerged in the arena, designed to overwhelm cadets with speed and power. Others froze in fear. Eli, however, crouched, placing his hand gently on the war beast's snout. "Together," he whispered. The creature responded with a low growl, its muscles tensing in readiness. They advanced as one. The war beast moved with perfect timing, blocking attacks and guiding Eli through openings. Eli calculated each step, trusting the beast completely. The bond was seamless. Neither moved without the other knowing. Together, they dismantled the sentinel, leaving it toppled on the ground. Cadets watching were amazed. Whispers spread. "It's like they share a mind, like they're one being." Eli understood that trust was deeper than physical coordination. It was emotional. The war beast had sensed his fear, his hesitation, and even his intentions. Now it followed not because it had to, but because it chose to. Later, Eli and the war beast rested near the cliffs overlooking the academy. The sun dipped low, painting the horizon with streaks of orange and purple. Eli traced his fingers over creature's scales, feeling the rhythm of its breathing. He could sense its thoughts, vigilance, loyalty, and an unspoken warning. A sudden chill swept the air, and Eli tensed. The war beast stiffened beside him, ears swiveling, eyes scanning the horizon. Eli knew that the danger wasn't gone. It was only lying in wait. He stood, feeling the familiar rush of anticipation. "We'll face it together," he said firmly. Dr. Ralvin approached, cautious but curious. "Cadet Eli, your bond with this creature, it's remarkable. I have never seen anything like it. If the coming challenges are as strong as I suspect, you will be the key to the Academy's survival." Eli nodded. He understood the responsibility. Trust wasn't just a strategy. It was a weapon, a shield, and a guide. Without it, neither he nor the war beast could hope to survive the threats looming beyond the walls. As night fell, shadows stretched long across the plains. Cadets returned to their quarters, wary and uncertain. Eli stayed with the war beast, training, observing, and preparing. Every step, every movement strengthened their synchronization. Every thought, every glance built their unspoken communication. The stars above shimmered coldly, distant and indifferent, yet beneath their light, a bond had been forged, stronger than steel, sharper than any weapon. Eli knew that soon the true test would come. Not a training exercise, not a simulation, but a real threat. And when it did, only trust and unity could ensure survival. The war beast lowered its massive head to Eli's shoulder, a gesture of acknowledgement and confidence. Eli smiled faintly, feeling the weight of the day and the promise of the challenges ahead. Together, they were ready. In the distance, beyond the mountains and the academy's perimeter, shadows shifted, silent but watching. A storm was coming, a challenge far greater than anything they had faced. And when it arrived, Eli and his war beast would meet it not as two, but as one. The bond of trust had been tested, and it had passed. The sky was dark and heavy with clouds, casting an ominous shadow over the academy. Rumors had spread of a massive war beast scene in the nearby mountains, older, larger, and far more aggressive than any cadet had ever faced. Eli's heart beat steadily, his senses sharpened. He knew this was the test that would define him, the one that could decide not just his fate, but the safety of everyone at the academy. The war beast at his side growled low, muscles coiled, sensing the danger long before it arrived. Eli reached out, placing his hand on its scaled snout. "We face this together," he said, calm but firm. The creature responded immediately, eyes gleaming amber, ready to follow his lead. Then the ground trembled. A massive shadow moved through the clouds, and the ultimate war beast emerged. Its scales were darker, jagged like shattered stone, eyes glowing a deep, threatening red. Every step shook the earth. Every breath echoed like a roar across the plains. The cadets watching from the academy walls held their breath, fear and awe etched across their faces. The new war beast bellowed, testing Eli and his companion. Its roar was not just sound. It carried intelligence, challenge, and warning. Eli studied it carefully, analyzing every movement, every subtle shift in its stance. He could feel the tension in the air, the stakes impossibly high. Without hesitation, Eli moved forward, war beast at his side. The two worked as one, anticipating the attacks of the ultimate creature. It lunged with incredible speed, its massive jaws snapping, but Eli's companion moved with equal precision, blocking and countering every strike. The cadets gasped as they witnessed the duel. This was no training exercise. Every movement could be fatal. Every misstep could cost lives. But Eli's calmness guided the war beast, each decision perfectly timed. Together, they dodged, struck, and read the enemy's intentions. The ultimate war beast was relentless. It lunged again, jaws snapping, claws tearing at the ground. Eli and his companion reacted instantly, working together like a single organism. Eli's mind and the war beast's instincts were perfectly synchronized, anticipating the enemy's moves before they happened. As the battle raged, Eli realized something crucial. Strength alone would not win this fight. Only understanding, trust, and strategy could prevail. He used subtle gestures, almost imperceptible, guiding the war beast in maneuvers that combined brute force with intelligence. They struck in unison, pushing the ultimate creature back, step by step. The cadets watched in awe. Some whispered, "They're like one mind, one being." Others could only stare, paralyzed by the display of courage and coordination. Suddenly, the ultimate war beast charged in a fury, forcing Eli and his companion to retreat. Dust and debris flew into the air as they rolled across the ground, dodging massive claws and snapping jaws. Eli stayed focused, never panicking, never hesitating. The bond between him and the war beast was unbreakable, a silent conversation of trust and instinct guiding every move. Finally, Eli saw an opening, a slight hesitation in the ultimate creature's movements. With a deep breath, he gestured, and the war beast lunged in perfect coordination. They struck at the weak point, and with a deafening roar, the ultimate war beast faltered, staggering back. For a moment, time seemed to pause. The dust hung in the air, and the cadets watched silent as the massive creature reeled. Then, almost impossibly, it fell to ground, defeated but alive. Eli approached cautiously, hand resting on a companion's snout. The ultimate war beast growled softly, a sound of recognition and respect. It slowly knelt, mirroring Eli's companion. Eli's heart pounded, not with fear, but with triumph and awe. He had faced the impossible and survived, not through brute strength, but through trust, courage, and understanding. Commanders rushed forward, cheering and shouting, but Eli barely noticed. His focus remained on the two war beasts kneeling before him. He realized that this victory was more than a test. It was a bond of respect, a lesson in the power of unity. The cadets slowly approached, their fear replaced with admiration. He did it," one whispered. "He faced the ultimate and survived." Dr. Ralvin stepped forward, eyes wide. This is unprecedented. The link you share is beyond anything we've ever documented. You've proven that courage, intelligence, and trust can surpass raw power." Eli nodded quietly. The war beast beside him nudged him gently, a silent message of loyalty. The ultimate creature remained kneeling, its red eyes slowly dimming, a sign that respect had been earned. As the sun set behind the mountains, painting the sky in streaks of orange and crimson, Eli stood tall, the two massive beasts at his side. The Academy had witnessed something extraordinary. The real challenge had arrived, and a human had faced it, and triumphed. Yet Eli knew the victory was only the beginning. Somewhere beyond the horizon, dangers even greater awaited. And when they arrived, he and his war beast companions would face them together as one. The ultimate test had been passed. The war and the adventure was only beginning. The dawn broke over the academy, golden light spilling across the training grounds. Eli stood with his war beast by his side, both surveying the aftermath of the ultimate challenge. The air still carried the scent of dust and ozone from the battle, but there was a sense of calm, almost reverent. Cadets and commanders gathered, eyes wide, still processing what had just happened. Many whispered, some in disbelief, others in admiration. Eli's calm gaze swept over the crowd. He had survived the impossible, not through sheer strength, but through understanding, courage, and trust. The ultimate war beast in the previous day remained kneeling, its red eyes now soft, almost humble. It had accepted defeat, yes, but also respect. Eli stepped forward, hand outstretched, feeling the power and intelligence of the creature as it nudged him gently. This moment was more than victory. It was acknowledgement. Commanders approached, clapping and shouting praises. "Cadet Eli," one said, voice trembling with emotion, "you have achieved what no one else could. You have faced the ultimate threat and survived. You've proven that courage and trust can conquer even the greatest dangers." Eli nodded quietly, his attention on the war beasts. He understood that this victory was not just his alone. It belonged to the bond he shared with them. Without that connection, without empathy and calmness, the outcome would have been very different. The cadets looked at him with newfound respect, some inspired, others humbled. A few approached hesitantly, touching the war beast gently, learning from Eli's calm example. He smiled faintly. Leadership wasn't about fear or intimidation. It was about guidance, trust, and understanding. Suddenly, the war beast at his side let out a deep, resonating roar, a sound filled with pride and acknowledgement. The ultimate war beast mirrored the gesture, and for a brief moment, the two massive creatures stood in silent harmony. Eli could feel their strength, their loyalty, and their intelligence, and he knew that they had chosen him not just as a companion, but as a leader worthy of respect. Dr. Ralvin stepped forward, eyes wide with wonder. "Cadet Eli, what you have accomplished here, it is unprecedented. You have proven that humanity's strength is not in brute force alone, but in intelligence, empathy, and courage. The war beasts recognize that in you." Eli looked out toward the horizon. The mountains, the forests, the distant planets beyond, they all seemed to shimmer with possibility and danger. He knew that this was only the beginning. A new chapter was starting, one that would test him even further. But he was ready, and with the war beast by his side, he felt unstoppable. A few cadets whispered among themselves, "Do you see? It's not about being the strongest. It's about understanding, about trust." Their admiration was evident, and some even began training with renewed determination, inspired by what they had witnessed. Eli stepped forward, placing a hand firmly on his war beast's massive head. "We did this together," he said softly, almost to himself. The creature rumbled in agreement, nudging him gently. It was more than a bond. It was a partnership, a silent promise that they would face whatever came next as one. The ultimate war beast rose, moving to stand beside Eli. Its red eyes met his, no longer filled with threat, but respect. The battlefield that had once been a place of fear and challenge was now a symbol of triumph and unity. The cadets and commanders looked on in awe as Eli and the two war beasts stood tall, their silhouettes outlined against the rising sun. The academy had witnessed something extraordinary. A human had faced the ultimate challenge and emerged victorious, not by force, but by courage, intelligence, and empathy. Eli turned to the war beast, a small smile on his face. "This is just the beginning," he said. "The real challenges are out there, and we'll face them together." The sun climbed higher, light spilling across the plains, illuminating a new day filled with possibilities, challenges, and hope. Eli's journey had begun, and the bond he shared with the war beast promised that no challenge, no matter how impossible, would ever be faced alone. The academy erupted in applause, cheers, and celebration, but Eli and his companions remained focused, alert, and ready. Victory had been won today, but the future awaited, and with courage, trust, and unity, they would meet head-on. The human had triumphed. The war beast had acknowledged him, and together, they had forged a bond stronger than fear, stronger than power, stronger than any obstacle in the galaxy. The story of Eli and the war beast had ended, for now, but the legend of courage, trust, and unity would live on, inspiring every cadet, every soldier, and every being who believed that the impossible could be overcome.